Four, three, two, one. Welcome back to the Brandon K Show. Welcome back to the Brandon K Show. I am your host, as always, Brandon K, and this is a real show. And we are broadcasting live today with my friend Nick,
Hello, folks.
co-host,
Happy Tuesday.
co-host of the show from time to time. You've been on the show talking about the belief cycle, conscious reprogramming, and now you're here. Oh yeah, and we talked about more about your life story and conscious continued conversations. So you've been an awesome co-host, and I'm sure people like hearing from you at this point. Oh, it looks like we got a comment. Patrick,
Wow.
my cousin Patrick is watching. Oh, he was, yeah.
Yeah.
So today we're going to say, well, the topic is dealing with life's lessons because we're in the middle of dealing with week. And but before we talk about life's lessons, we will say Brandon K Show is sponsored by Gift Apply. Eco-friendly charity wrapping paper. 33% of the proceeds go to charity, all these great causes like Give Kids the World, Be the Match, and Stand Against the Silent. So great wrapping paper, 25% off if you use the promo code BK Show. And we're happy to have Gift Apply as a sponsor and have my cousin Patrick, the creator of Gift Apply, here watching the show today. I'm sure he could tell us a lot about life's lessons, but I'll just start the show by saying, I'm just having these realizations over the last few years that life is a series of lessons. And dealing with life's lessons can be difficult. Hello, Christina. Thank you for watching. Hey, I hope finding it either on. Oh yeah, they're finding it on YouTube. It says right there. So, a series of lessons and consequences, and especially for alcoholics and addicts, it's like just think about this concept of eventually you could tell them it's going to catch up with you eventually. It's kind of like you see someone on a speeding train knowing that they're going to ruin their lives if they have a serious addiction, and you can just be watching them and saying, if you do that, you're going to have consequences. If you do that, you're going to have consequences, but it's up to them to choose when they cut the cord. So, but the consequences are there all along the line, waiting for them. So that's like the life lessons is like over time. The life lessons are always the facts and principles that are going to be the results of doing certain things. But they don't. You're going to want to try to get away with it as long as you can until you have to face those consequences.
Yeah, absolutely, Brandon. I mean, I think it comes down to we as humans, we're the only ones who can throw in the towel and give up or keep fighting regardless of what others say. And it comes down to our own experience. And I agree with that. And it can be scary for some people because some people may never learn and take that all the way to the grave. And then some others will iterate and trial and error and live a great life.
Yeah, I mean, there's lessons that like a good parent or a good school can teach you right out of the gate, and somebody could be very set up for success. Um, but it's just about knowing the right information, and then it's also about learning it for yourself, because I'm sure there's people who have had the best schooling and the best parenting who are told, don't do this, this, and this, or this is going to happen. It's been my experience. It's been your grandpa's experience. It's been a million other people's experience. And then they still do it because they have to learn for themselves too.
Yeah, so true. And there's something too about human nature where it's like, especially when you're a teenager or a young adult and you're told not to do this and told not to do that. It's like you almost want to do it more. Or maybe me,
No,
probably
oh,
not
me
everyone,
too. Yeah,
probably
no,
not everyone, but and then you get curious, and then after that, it comes down to your, how do you approach the situation, and can you handle it or not? So it's pretty, yeah,
Yeah, so like in my own experience, it can be a bit of a it can be a bit thrilling to be told not to do something and then just go do it anyways.
yeah. And there's actually something in my meditation app. I don't know how deep it goes into the psyche of like us being programmed to want to just by default do the opposite. But the Buddha master or the grandmaster of the Headspace app always says like,
The Buddha
all
master.
right, now it's time to let your mind run free.
Yeah.
And then apparently it'll do the opposite. And then if you try to really still your mind, it'll do the opposite of that. So it's almost, we like to do opposites just by program sometimes, I think, as human nature.
Right, right. It's the whole like don't think of an elephant, you're gonna sit there and think of an elephant. And
Yeah. Yeah.
if you have a kid and you tell them don't go down this road, they're gonna start seeing the reasons why they should go down that road. But I will say one thing about my dad that I learned from him is he told me don't try cocaine because all it is you feel good for 20 minutes and then you want more.
Yeah. I've
I,
tried it.
I heard that lesson and I never did cocaine. I said that doesn't sound that great, you know what I mean?
That's a good thing you didn't try it. And I think that's pretty accurate. You just want to keep doing more and more. Even though I never loved it much, but I know a lot. It's common in society. That's
We
for
got
sure.
some good comments here. We got a question from Patrick, and we got Christina with we need to put in the hard work to avoid those consequences. Some people don't want to do it, others have to become ready. So who wants to
Great,
do the
great
hard work?
point.
Who wants to do anything? That's the thing is it's the path of least resistance. And the easy thing is usually the fun thing. And it's the whatever's right in front of you and easy, like when it comes to a diet, the cheap free food
Mhm.
is going to be the easiest possible way, but then to actually live a conscious diet you have to really do a lot of work and exercise, and who wants to do that?
Wasn't that like a psychology? Wasn't that in a psychology book or someone notable said that like humans just always take the path of least resistance or something?
I heard that when I was in 7th grade.
That's you just unlocked a memory on that. It's pretty interesting.
I don't know who said it, but I heard it as a theory early in life about taking the path of least resistance.
Definitely
And
sounds
I
true.
thought to myself, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to always be doing that. Um, but even still, we can get into these patterns. Here we got a good question from Patrick. What's the biggest life lesson either of you have learned from? Let's go hear from you first, Nick.
Ooh, that's a great question, Patrick. And the biggest life lesson that either of us have learned from. And I think actually, so over the past year and a half, I've had a big spiritual transformation or just a big perspective change on life, which has been pretty amazing. And it's all the results of stopping my partying with alcohol. I was going overboard with alcohol and overboard with other substances, and with that, my mind was starting to get really, really fast, and I couldn't contain it. And going about normal days were difficult. The biggest life lesson that I've learned over the last actually few months, I'm just starting to really contemplate this is to stay true to yourself, regardless of anything really, regardless of your parents, regardless of your spouse at times, regardless of your best friends, regardless of, I'm not saying to go against, to not value their opinions and suggestions and things that could be useful. But I'm saying is to stay true to your core beliefs, to your spirit, and to do what you truly think is going to bring you passion and joy and happiness in life. Because I've spent many years of my life in a hamster wheel and super anxious and depressed, and it just wasn't a way to live. So I've been really contemplating on this, like how can I stay. I like that a lot. I really like that. how can I stay true to myself? And I'm like taking this entrepreneurial risk that's like scary right now, and everyone's like, oh, you should go like at least make a little money and this and that, and you know. But I'm staying true to myself for right now, regardless of who's telling me. And yeah, that energy and motion, Patrick, that's a good one. I think about that a lot. Like there's another in science or somewhere quoted that essentially if you're moving and active and
Newton's
staying,
laws. Newton law.
oh, that's
Newton's law
oh
of motion, right?
yeah, that will boom. And I apply that to my days as well. Like if the more I'm doing something, and it doesn't even have to be like super notable stuff. It could just be like, okay, I'm gonna go pick up my dog's poo, or like I'm gonna wash my dishes, or like I'm gonna shower. Like, but if I stay in motion, even at my house,
That's true.
this is better. Like this is better. But yeah, that's my
So
long-winded answer.
I'm gonna add on to what Nick said and say that that is also the biggest lesson I've learned in life, and then I'll come up with another lesson. But there's a reason, beyond the first episode of this show was called Acceptance and Addiction and Acceptance, and the second episode was called Authenticity. And that's because authenticity is like the most important thing I've learned after I went through hell to get sober and to start becoming my true self. It's like authenticity is what really unlocked everything for me, is to know who I am and to go and do what I want to do, and with the people who want to do what I want to do, and not force. It's not authentic for me to force my will on everybody, but for me to just be in motion of doing what I want to do in life, and then having a force field around me, like whatever you tell me, I still have to do what I'm gonna do. Like I'm not gonna be happy unless I'm do what I'm here to do. And there was just in my life there was so much fear about doing what I want to do, because what I want to do is podcast and make music and write books, and it's like out of the gate as a teenager or in early 20s, it's like people are going to say, hey, that's really hard, you might want to have a backup plan. And it's like, but over the last 20 years it's all I want to do. So how can I live a inauthentic life just to make other people happy, or just to, it's like I would rather be broke and do what I want to do than be well set up and not be doing anything I want to do. So that's authenticity. That's the balance of these deals we make with ourselves.
That's the best way to describe it, Brandon, is being true to yourself is just authentic, really, and genuine to yourself. And I think it's just, going against the society's norms of like just going and working for somebody, who started their own company at some point, right? Like they had to start it and it had to start small, but being secure. So I love that. Staying what you said.
Everybody around me, the people I look up to, they all did their authentic thing. The company owners and the celebrities and the musicians,
Yeah.
they're all living their authentic life, and I'm sitting over here like, oh, I can't do that.
Just fear. You could definitely do it.
So, so let's see. Christina weighing in. We can listen and have an open mind, but not let people change us and our true beliefs and selves. Follow our dream that makes us happy. So that's what it is. It's we're chasing our happiness, and it goes down to every little level of your day. Like, oh, I can't. I like me. I'm wearing shorts right now. Like, oh, I have to wear pants because other people wear pants. You know what I mean? Like every little thing about how we're perceived. Like if I walked around thinking about how I'm perceived all day, this is what
I've done that before for
this is what I
many
had to
months
break
in my
through.
life.
And like, so when people try to tell me, oh, you need to wear pants and you need to dress a certain way and you need to talk a certain way, and like I'm just kind of like a free, fidgety, happy kind of spiritual guy, and I'm just in my authenticity, putting my authentic vibe out into the world. And like if I was living in a box where I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do this, I can't do that, that's why I was so trapped. And so like that's another form of authenticity, is like every single choice you make throughout the day, asking yourself, is this authentic?
I really like that, Brandon, and true to yourself. And is this being? Am I saying this out of like a true belief that that's genuine to my core and to myself, or am I saying this out of fear to appease somebody else, or maybe out of jealousy because I'm scared, or whatever? I think a lot of the time it comes down to like others, like appeasing others for me at least, and then I'm not being genuine to myself. So I'm actually trying to work on that as well. And sometimes it's with the really small, subtle things about the day, like you mentioned. It doesn't have to be a huge big thing, but just practice on being genuine and true to yourself in small situations. Like, okay, maybe you don't want to go to the grocery store right now, rather than, no, I don't want to go. I'm tired, and tomorrow I'll go right in the morning, rather than like, okay, like, yeah, I want to go. I'll go just to appease the person. And then you go and you're upset and you're mad that you're there and your vibe's off. And then why'd you even go in the first place? So those little things can make a big difference on staying true to yourself and just standing your ground, even on small, little things like that.
And there's a whole conversation to be had about, we do have to push ourselves into certain directions to get
Yeah.
where we want to go, and we do have to um, make compromises with people to have good lives. But like in general, I like the idea of, instead of living in fear, asking myself, what do I really want? And you know, let me get this quote from Jim Carrey up here. You can fail at what you don't want, so you might as well take a chance on what you love. Absolutely. That was from his I think it's called a commencement speech at the college, something like that. He was talking about how his dad worked his whole life at a job that he hated and eventually got fired and lost his job, and they all ended up homeless. And basically he wasted all that time to work for peanuts, support his family, and then at the end of the day the company doesn't care about you at all, and you don't have any other experience to do anything else, and you're just screwed.
Yeah. I think I've heard that one actually from Jim Carrey. That was a good speech.
Great
I mean,
speech.
it's so true, yeah. And it comes down to the wisdom, the serenity prayer, the wisdom to know the difference. How do I feel? Can I take the risk and really try to build my own something, or am I gonna? And there's a lot of great companies and work environments out there where people will be happy,
Oh yeah.
working there. But there's also a lot of people settle, and then their mental health will be sacrificed for their entire life, which
Nick,
I'm
Nick,
not doing that.
Nick here was working in the corporate system for the last how many years?
Like pretty much 6 years. Yeah.
Six years working a job that and then over time now you're going out and breaking into your own business.
Yeah, I'm just trying to do the just hustles right now, just
Mhm.
different side hustles kind of. So I was a recruiter in the tech industry for about 6 years, and then after COVID, the tech companies got all funky and there were layoffs and this and that. So after taking some time after my second layoff from COVID, I was like, you know what? Screw. And my mental health was suffering dramatically working remotely alone. I'm such an extrovert, and I get my energy from people. So being at home alone, oh my God, I just started beating my head against the wall. But staying true to myself, it's almost like the more my perspective changes and the more clear headed and I guess conscious I get, I'm like, whoa, like why don't you try? You can make money for yourself and like try a couple hustles and see how that goes. You don't have to go immediately work for somebody. And I had a little resource, a buffer financially to kind of hold me over for a few months, so I've been running on that. And yeah, so like for instance, my partner and I, we started an Etsy shop called Happy Picks by Mia. It's a cosmetic makeup mystery box, so we've been buying some products in wholesale and selling that on Etsy just for like some side cash. And then, I mean, we'll see where our vision is, hopefully to build it into a legit store and brand. And we're not going to pump the brakes on this thing. Like we're going to iterate weekly and strategize new products and push it onto new channels. So when it's your own business and you're not working for someone else, it hits different too. It's like you're more motivated. You're not. It's not. It doesn't feel like work to me. It's
Right.
not like someone's telling me like, Nick, log on and send over those candidates, screen them, send them to me. I'll give you feedback on the candidate. It's like I'm just doing this with myself. That's it. So it's like the motivation and only having to communicate with my clients and myself and my partner. It's nice. It's nice and it's scary too. But yeah, and then dog walking, hustles I'm trying to come up with. So just doing it the millennial side hustle way right now, and we'll see what may could potentially take off.
Yeah. So, um, let's see. Thank you for watching, everybody. With the what other? I guess Patrick asked us this question, the life lesson. So we talked about authenticity. Another big life lesson. Hmm. Another big life lesson I've learned, and I heard it today on Instagram again as a reaffirmation, was just like time is gonna pass, and you gotta just do it. You gotta just do it now. Time is our most valuable asset. And so it's good to just start out on your dreams today. And, just like the Shia LaBeouf, just do it, the Nike, just do it, because like, um, again, it's just the fear of doing something is just in the way. So it's called, being proactive, um, handling business, whatever, taking action, however you want to say it is just, we're here to just get ideas out and to, if you have an idea, and I heard Jim or Stan Lee talk about it too, is like if you have an idea that's really good, you just go with it. You believe in yourself and you go with it, and that's the authenticity thing again. But the point is that you have to take the action as well today.
Yeah, absolutely. Like faith without works is dead, and then works without faith, even the opposite. I like that a lot too. But energy and motion, right? Like Patrick was saying, the inner and Isaac Newton or whoever. Yeah, energy can't be in motion if it's stagnant, really. So if you're like sitting on the couch praying for this and that, that's not energy in motion, you know.
And you brought up faith, and faith is the opposite of fear. So it's really just fear. When you're not doing something that you want to be doing, it's really just being in a fear state. And that ties into my topic yesterday, which was trauma, and probably different things I've talked about this week with the dealing with week of anxiety, which is fear again. Um, you know, and then it's so much boils down to fear. So the just doing it thing is just busting through the fear. And like the fear is the thoughts too. The thoughts are saying you're going to be judged, you're not going to succeed, but that's what is important to break through. And what you have to break through to start a business or to start a podcast or to do anything, get a new job.
I think anything notable and like worthwhile doing is you're gonna have to cut through some fears to achieve it. There's no way you could achieve growth and success if you're just comfortable the entire time. There's got to be some period where you're uncomfortable. Like hopefully eventually you will get comfortable in your craft and then really hone in and it's not anxiety filled, but and I don't think every day should be anxiety filled, but yeah, you're definitely going to have self-talk that's going to try to talk you off following your passion, and getting through those is really important.
So, as far as life lessons, I've learned that fear is the enemy. And when my brain is telling me, don't do this, don't do that, you can't do that, that's something I need to fight through because it's not true.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's those are it comes down to yeah, different fear-based insecurities, and fighting through those is huge, and that's where the success lies, is on the other end of that fear. Totally.
Do you have Did you have fears to start your company?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, still, yeah, like there's, and even now, some days I'm, some days it's you future trip and you start thinking ahead into is this actually going to work? Am I going to have to go back and start, working again for somebody? Like, are my side hustles going to pick up? And it's not like, it comes in waves. It's not consuming me and making it so I can't work or advance even further in this endeavor. But yeah, they're absolutely. I mean, some days I'm like, hopefully this works. Hopefully I'm not wasting my time. I may have to go back to working for somebody. Hopefully I can stay true to myself and not. But yeah, those thoughts sometimes creep up. But no
I'd say,
plans of it right now.
yeah, I mean, my anything I do in this podcast or anything financial, fear is always there, and I have to fight through it daily, day
Fight
moment
through.
by moment. And my brain, if it's upset and it's anxious, it's gonna say like, "Oh, what's wrong?" And then it's gonna say, "Oh, you don't have enough money" or something like that. And then it's gonna be like, "You're not doing the right thing." And then it's just like this cycle, this rumination begins. I mean, I know a lot of people who just worry about money all day, and
Just wanna.
it's like a fear you have to break through. Like as long as you have enough to put a roof over your head and have food, it's like we're doing okay.
That's my philosophy. Like yeah, and I think the more that I work on spirituality, it's weird. There's like and I don't mean to go off on spirituality, but there's
There it
some
is.
relation to where the more
Question.
spiritual I get, it's just the material things, I don't have to consciously train myself to not want material things or not want to make like a shit ton of money in this. It's not like I'm like, it's a side effect. It's a natural side effect of like, as I'm working on my spirituality, I'm noticing that I actually need less required to survive and to be successful and happy. It's food. It's pretty much food and shelter essentially, which is nice because I don't have to go make a shit ton of money, enough
Yeah,
to live. Which would be nice to make money, but it's not like I'm gonna beat myself up over it.
when you're describing that, and along with this question, which is you said that yeah, fear goes away as the result of spirituality. Like for me, spirituality can be described as like love and forgiveness and kindness and like principles like this. It's like those things are all free, and that I think that's why like spirituality is like so much just like a spiritual person. To me, we you could think of like a monk who just does nothing. They just sit there and meditate. And I visited them before. They just eat rice. To survive,
Hmm.
they're gonna eat a little bit of rice and water, but they
Hmm.
don't eat anything. And it's
Hmm.
because they're so filled up by something spiritual and the spiritual nature of the universe and connecting to their higher power that and so for me, simplicity is like a form of spirituality, and a form of like the more I tune into that, like the opposite to me is like ego, lots of money. um so you get into
Simplicity, spirituality. I like that.
you can be very spiritual with money. You could help the whole world. If you had $1 billion, you could help the whole world. So
True.
money itself is not evil, but it's kind of like
Sure.
for selfish gains. It's like if all I'm thinking about is how big my house is going to be, and not about how many people I can help with my money.
Case by case basis, absolutely. Depending on it, yeah. I think viewing money as neutral is a good thing. Viewing it as neutral, like, and I think you may have said that to me once, Brandon. Like, you could use it for really, really good things too.
Sure. Well,
Really,
yeah.
really pop.
If I said that, that makes sense to me because it's it's it doesn't have it's just a piece of paper. It doesn't have a quality. It doesn't have a it's like you can use it for good or for evil. And
So true. Simply just a piece of paper, literally.
but We need it to survive, unfortunately.
Do you need it to survive?
I mean,
Absolutely.
and then you get into conversations about like communism and collectivism and socialism and capitalism, but like it's like once you just here we go. There it is. That's from the Bible.
Mm, that's a good one. It's the love of money, obsession, obsession and attaining it and putting everything aside in order to get it.
And it's putting the money above the people and above the principles and above the higher power.
Well, and it's funny when I'm going to go back to the Buddha thing really quick, Brandon, how you said how they can just sit there and meditate pretty much for life. And then on the outside, you would look in on that and be like, what the, like how,
Yeah.
right? Like a Westerner would look in like that
Why?
doesn't,
Yeah.
it looks like pretty miserable, but in their heads, like that truly is all they need. Like in America, sorry, I don't know if you hear little pings going on in the back. In America, all we need to be happy is food and travel, which travel is a great thing, but consuming, and drinking and using drugs. But for them, they just meditate, and that brings them as much joy that would bring to a common Westerner who's going to go out and drink beer and chicken wings on a Friday.
Yeah, they see the importance, and you could see it as like their hobby and their passion. Um, and when you have a passion, it's all that you want to do, and it's like becoming an expert in a certain area. This is how I see it. I see it. Why a yogi or a monk would is that they want to be an expert in a certain field. They want to be an expert in the field of spirituality. They want to have the closest possible connection they can get to their higher power, and to them,
Mm-hmm.
within their mind and within their monkhood. And I know from reading books, there's also like a lot of charitable stuff that like it's not a what do you call a place where the monks live?
A monastery or
Yeah. So the monastery, like ones that I've heard about, sometimes they're a farm. Sometimes they farm together and they support themselves by selling food. Sometimes it's dogs. I've heard of monasteries where they breed dogs and sell dogs.
interesting, random.
So there's a lot of like crossover with they see the importance of keeping, putting something good into the world. But even for them, it's not about feeding the world. It's about just like having enough to get by.
Yeah, and I think they've just their perspective is different. Of it's not a super common perspective, and to them, that's it. That's all they need. And I guess in two, if when these and Buddhism and certain cultures have been around for thousands of years, so they're just born and they're like, yeah, this is what my grandparents did, my parents and my grandparents, and what I'm gonna do too, if they want to. I don't. You shouldn't be forced into anything, but if you do want to do that, I think it's a great route. I think
Yeah.
it's
So
an absolutely great route. And I'm super into, and I can, because since I'm into meditation, I can almost, I'm not going to go, I don't, devote my life to it entirely to where I'm just going to give up everything. But I can also put myself in their shoes and kind of see like, okay, I see where it comes from entirely.
I want to tell another story about this book I read with a friend called Peace Pilgrim.
You talk about her a lot, the
Peace
Peace Pilgrim.
Pilgrim was a lady from the 50s, and her only message was peace. And she also talks about life being a series of lessons. And she didn't write her own book, but she would go around and do lectures, and then they collected the lectures and they put them into a book. So if you go to peacepilgrim.com, let's see, is it peacepilgrim.com or they will give you a free book actually.
Hmm.
Peacepilgrim.org. If you go to peacepilgrim.org, you can get this free book, and it's a story about this woman, and she gave up all her worldly possessions, and she started walking across the country, thousands, tens of thousands of miles over decades.
Crazy.
And she was tapping into something spiritual, and she it was almost like a protest, like, I'm going to walk until everyone knows the message of peace. And that was how she got her message out there. She had a tunic that said Peace Pilgrim on it. She walked around the country, affecting all those lives across the country. People would probably see her walking around with her tunic and say, "Oh, what is that?" And she's spreading her message of peace as she's walking the entire United States, Canada, Mexico. And she would not carry any money. She relied solely on the kindness of strangers to feed her. And
Holy shit.
she was just going around having all these experiences, and saying, God will provide for me. And and God did provide for her. And she got her message out there, and she walked, yeah, like I said, tens of thousands of miles. I think in her later years, she was still kind of relying on the kindness of strangers.
25,000, more than 25,000
I
miles.
think she stopped counting after 25,000. Yeah, but she was relying on the kindness of strangers. Even in her final days, it would kind of be like she would be on someone's couch or something like that, and then they would like be like, "Oh yeah, come stay with us at our hotel and do a lecture." In her final years, much about the walking as much as it was just like. But she didn't have any possessions. She didn't have a big bank account full of money. She didn't have a car. She didn't have a house. She was just a person on a pilgrimage to spread the message of peace. And that's why I like the book.
It's late. This is fire, Brandon. I know
I
you've talked about her.
highly recommend.
There's a good quote. I saw a quote. I just was searching the internet once you talked about her. What I walk on is not the energy of youth, meaning, praising youth is good, but it is a better energy. I walk on the endless energy of inner peace that never runs out. That was her quote.
Yeah, she's deeply philosophical. So the book breaks down everything like inner peace, peace with others, world peace, and her opinion on death and fear and anxiety and depression. And she just had an opinion on everything. And I highly recommend the Peace Pilgrim. I don't think I could do this episode without mentioning the Peace Pilgrim.
Oh, thanks for that, Brandon. Actually, sorry, while I have people live, there is a free download, it looks like, too, a digital download on our website for free. So you can get the book for free right here, right now.
I got to share the message of Peace Pilgrim, and I start to think, and this goes back to the original concept of like consequences and like life lessons and putting good out into the world. But like when I start to think of someone like Peace Pilgrim, you have to imagine how many lives she affected just walking around spreading her message. And same with anybody positive, is they're just going around spreading their message and affecting so many lives in a positive way.
And that's that's the best thing is like she just stayed extremely true to herself the entire time. And then the message started spreading, and then all these other people were trying to pull her their direction for their benefit by lectures and things like that, just because she was staying true to herself the whole time, really.
And she had faith. She had tremendous faith. She tells stories about, being in danger at times with dangerous people, but she had so much love that she had so much
I'm just getting a
love
little coffee.
that she was like, when someone tries to attack her, she responds with love, and they're not going to attack her. And that's what she believed. That was her faith in the world, is that no one can hurt her. God is going to protect her. And not recommending this to people, but this is the way she lived her life. Is this just like not to live in fear, and to just having faith in people that they're not going to hurt you for I mean, obviously she's a woman, she's an old woman, so you can take whatever you want from that, but she doesn't have any money, and so she just had faith that people wouldn't take advantage of her.
seemed like it. She walked over 25,000 miles. It sounds like, so it got her pretty damn far. It looks like.
And she didn't have any major scrapes that she, any. Her story was, no one hurt me,
Mm,
and
that's amazing.
like I think she had a couple close calls with the weather, like it was icy and snowy, but she said she said she found a cardboard box that kept her warm in the snow, and she kept God in her heart, and she got through these hard situations. God provided for her somehow, some way. And so when you like look at somebody like this as an inspiration, it's like she just shows you what could be possible if you really pushed yourself to that extreme.
Faith and a true belief.
It worked for her. It's not.
It,
I'm not recommending it or saying I would do it. I'm just saying it worked for her, and it's something to ponder for sure.
I read a book similar. It's but a Navy. He was a Navy SEAL operator, but he grew up. His dad had him meditating at like 10 years old. So by the time he got into Bud's boot camp for Navy SEALs, he finished first in his class and was the honorable student and this and that. And he said it was because he had such good control over his mind. But when they shipped him off to the Middle East and stuff or at whatever war, he would wake up, a couple hours before his platoon or an hour before, and he would go meditate alone at the lake before they would conduct a mission to go whatever, start shooting bullets. And
Oh,
he had such a faith
oh,
in his spirituality and God that he knew. He describes this in the book that he just knew he was going to survive no matter what.
that's crazy.
It's pretty crazy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I mean, for me, faith is I could die or I could live. It's not. I don't. I'm. It's like it doesn't. It's like faith is it's gonna work out even if you die. Like so you wouldn't have fear of death because you're just like everything will it'll be death is peace. So I mean I've talked about that on the show.
It's a good one. We are, I think, it's all us versus us here on this planet.
Us versus us.
It's us versus us, and then we perceive it to be us versus others, but it's really our reactions to others is what we're perceiving incorrectly. So it's that it's us versus us.
We'll have to do a deeper dive on Peace Pilgrim sometime, life lessons sometimes, but we can end it there. And I can say thank you, Mr. Nick. I'm also reminded that Star Wars has a lot of good life lessons in it. So I gotta reference the dark side and the light side and Yoda. Yoda is my mentor.
He deserves. I have this app that has different. They pull different quotes from different movies, whatever, different things in life, and I feel like Yoda deserves his own quote section in that app. He'd be
He
great.
definitely is gonna get his own episode of this show when I get to Y. ABCD, the Yoda episode. Um, let's see, Peace Pilgrim episode, Yoda episode. So, but with that, thank you, Patrick, for watching. Gift Apply is a great wrapping paper with a great cause, and even if you don't buy the wrapping paper, those are great causes to go donate to. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you for joining me, Nick. Have a great day. And we're going to be doing the dealing with week all week. We got dealing with major life issues tomorrow with Roger. I'm going to get Roger on the StreamYard and talk to him about some major life changes.
Nice.
And trying to get someone on here to talk about suicidal thoughts with me. And might get Patrick on here and got an episode on trauma. There's a lot of things to deal with in this world. These are all life lessons, and I'm glad to get you on today, Nick. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate you, brother.
Gotta find my.
Oh.